Hello and welcome to the Etoft21sports Show for June 27th. How is everyone doing? My name is Eric. I'm the man behind Etoft21sports. We have an absolutely great show for you lined up today. Gino from the That's What G Said podcast. He's going to be stopping by. He's going to share his horse racing bet of the day from Louisiana Downs. Plus, Gino and I are going to talk some NBA, everything going around the association, give our thoughts on the NBA draft. Plus, it's never too early to lock in some futures. If you're watching it this time last season, you cashed the Denver Nuggets. I have a couple futures I really like, and I'm sure Gino does too. Before we jump into all of that, I'd like to thank everyone watching on Twitch. Make sure to hit that follow button. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It helps old Uncle Rico out. Also, if you're not using Sharps, you got to use Sharps. Best bet track app there is. Use promo code ETOF, ETOF499. That way they know old Uncle Rico sent you. If you're watching on YouTube, link to it is in the description. Now let's jump right into the show. Let's see what Gino has cooking for us over at Louisiana Downs.
This week's best bet will head to Louisiana Downs for Saturday as we take a look at the daily racing form past performances. Let's dive into race number 5 and let's move to the number 9 in here, Summer Lover. Now this guy's going to exit a much tougher race last time out. Coming out of a first level allowance race over at Lone Star, just look at the races that the horses in front of him exit. So Tres Solis has won back-to-back races, an optional 50, and then that first level allowance. The runner-up, Ready to Roll. This is a legitimate allowance horse who's been knocking at the door at that first level allowance class. And then Color Fast, the third place finisher, came back to win a $15,000 claimer next time out. It just feels like it's a much stronger spot. It was a much stronger spot last time out for Summer Lover, who heads over to Louisiana Downs now, gets a softer spot, and should fit very well with this group. The number 9, Summer Lover, 6-1 on the morning line. Make sure to tune in every week for the best information in all of sports from Eric.
Please make sure to give my boy Gino a follow. He's doing great work online. Also, make sure to lock into his podcast. So that's what G Said podcast that comes out at the beginning of every week and the end of every week. Now, the man, the myth, the legend, Lakers #1 fan, Gino. Let's welcome him to the show. Gino, how you doing today, my man? I can't hear it. You're muted, buddy.
I was going to say, I've never done one of these before, Eric. This is my first time doing one of these.
Who's worked in TV before, me or you?
Yeah, I was going to say, no. That was like a rookie. I remember my first beer, right? Rookie move here right off the bat. But this is always a fun time. I remember a couple years ago, my family always has a barbecue on 4th of July. And now this has been the time period where there's a lot of NBA moves and things happening. Like when AD and LeBron came, and then there was all the rumors about Kawhi. That was right around 4th of July time. It was really funny. I remember everybody talking about it. Snoop Dogg was recording songs trying to get Kawhi over to the Lakers. So this is a fun few weeks because a lot of things change. We can talk about the draft, and there are a lot of players that I wouldn't be shocked if they make some big moves within the next week or so.
I mean, it's a real interesting time of the year. And your boy, Gino, green to the Lakers. Is it going to happen?
I don't think so. I keep hearing that they're going to stay pretty pat with a lot of what they had last year. And I think the teams that I was reading about Draymond today, there were 3 or 4 teams that have pretty high interest in Draymond. And I don't think I was reading that the Lakers were one of them. I actually read the Pistons or a team that has a little bit of interest in Draymond, which is funny. Who knows? But I don't think it would be a great fit. I think Draymond would be better in a situation where you have more shooting, because if you put him with the Lakers, all of a sudden now, if you have Draymond, LeBron, and Anthony Davis as 3 of your guys playing heavy minutes, all of a sudden there are 3 players that are not above average 3-point shooters. And in this current era, you would need 2 other lockdown guys like to spread the floor with them. I don't have the fit all that much.
Yeah, I mean the same thing happened with Westbrook. I mean they should have learned. I mean it just doesn't make sense. Bobby chimes in, no woo bets tonight. I know Uncle Rico loves the woo from Sports Facts. Looks like Bobby laddered him So the new favorite of the show is Seattle has this picture named Brian Wu.
Sure.
Young guy, and his strikeout overs have been money. They have been absolutely money. I think it was a couple Fridays ago, I had him at 60-1 to have the most strikeouts on the day. And he had 9. And like I've been just every week just giving him out, but they play the Nationals, and surprisingly, the Nationals out of every team in MLB strike out the least against right-handed pitchers. So we're not on the Wu train tonight.
So you're anti-Wu tonight. Yeah.
Anti-Wu. No Wu-Tang tonight. So we did hit Westenberg, the kid from the Orioles. We hit his total bases, and we lost the Brewers, dude. We lost the Brewers. So hopefully and I bet against your Dodgers tonight. The Kershaw fade on the road. Those are my 3 MLB bets. But We're not here to talk about MLB. We're here to talk some NBA. Obviously, we need to kick things off with the big news. The Blazers drafting Scoot Henderson. Do you think the Blazers will now trade Dame? And if so, where do you see him being traded to?
Yeah, because I thought if we were going to talk about teams that had some of the better drafts, I thought the Blazers may be one of those teams that had a really good draft overall, because I like Scoot. I like Murray late in the first round as someone who can stretch the floor and who can, hit the 3. And then I think late in the second round, they took a flyer on Rupert, who's, like a big French, like wing who has, probably going to be a defender. So I actually like overall what they did. It just doesn't seem like it's on the timeline with Dame, right? That's what's so confusing to me. So did they have a great draft? Yes, but now you and I are recording on Tuesday night, and all reports today are that Dame seems fine staying with Portland and that they're going to try to build a contender there around Dame. I don't know. It just seems like mixed signals, right?
I just don't get it. And one of my friends made this comment to me. Leave it to the Blazers to have the guy that would go number 1 in any other year fall to their laps and have it be the guy who's the cornerstone of their franchise.
Yeah.
Now, it's one of those things. I know there's a lot of rumors with him going to Miami, but Tyler Hero would have to be the centerpiece in that trade. Doesn't make sense to me. You already have Simmons there. You have Scoot. You have Sharp. You're adding Hero to the mix. Doesn't mix. My suggestion is this. Send him off to Brooklyn. Brooklyn would send back Ben Simmons, Nick Claxton, Cam Thomas, and 3 whatever, first round picks, pick swaps, whatever. They would send something like that back. You get Simmons, still young. Maybe he could turn into some defensive Draymond Green type guy. You got Cam who can score, and you have a center in Claxton, and then you can look to trade Urich. Then you kind of have a rebuild happening, and would be around Sharp, Simmons, and Scoot. I don't know. That's kind of what
and who did they draft too? They Brooklyn drafted Clowney, Whitehead, and Wilson. Could they send one of them back to Portland too? Right, like one of the project, because that like Whitehead feels like a guy, or who might not be ready right now. So if you're Portland, wouldn't you want some of these young sort of projects and prospects that might be a year or two away? You could get them some run right now, because I actually don't think Brooklyn is too far off from competing. I really like that too. You bring him over and you pair him with Bridges, who was very good last year, and a couple other pieces around them, and you can kind of start over there. Like that feels like a good spot. He said he didn't want to go to Boston. He's talked about not wanting to go to the LA teams. And like, if you're the Lakers, I love Damian Lillard. I wouldn't want Damian Lillard for what you'd have to give up for him, right? Because then you're in the situation where you have to give up so much that you have no bench. Like, I don't want to give up Reeves and Rui and like 2 others to get a look at Dame, So it's tough because it doesn't feel like there are that many spots for a guy who's great. A lot of people would love a Lillard on your team, right? It just doesn't, those spots don't present themselves, the automatic, oh, that's right where he would go.
Yeah, it's just a tough one, just because like if you were going to move Dame, it seems like you would have done it last year or done it like when you did CJ, just because, and then do the reset. I just don't get, I don't know. I just don't get it. It just doesn't make sense to me.
No, me neither.
Cam Johnson to Pistons rumors have legs. I heard they're going to make a big push for Cam.
Yeah. I love him.
I think that would be a good fit.
He seems like one of those guys who can level up a little bit too, right? When you put him in a spot where you ask him to produce more, he can take that role and I think run with it, like we saw with Bridges and some other guys who were role players and sort of swing players. And now if they get opportunities to be more of a lead guy, I absolutely think that can happen.
Now, let's shift to the Suns. I made my spiel about my thoughts on the Bradley Beal trade. What are your thoughts on Beal to the Phoenix Suns?
I don't like it again. I think you and I really didn't love the fit all that much last year when Durant came over. I think Beal is better right now than Chris Paul if we're just talking about like who can give you a little bit more on the court. The problem is, you start looking at Bradley Beal. He had the one really good scoring year a few years ago when the ball was in his hands. He is not efficient at all. And he's not nearly as good of a three-point shooter as you think he is. Like when you dive into his numbers, his spot up three numbers are not great. And he's a guy that's missed a lot of games the last couple of years. You start looking at his game logs. Now, was that because he was on bad teams and they didn't need him as much? And maybe now I could see him coming out in the first month and lighting it up, like having an incredible month to start the year. And then teams start to adjust and realize that this Phoenix team doesn't have a whole lot of depth. When we talk about Phoenix, one thing that I don't like is hearing the Ayton and Durant rumors that those two guys have not got along with each other. And that Ayton is someone who, for some reason, has rubbed some guys the wrong way. I'm not exactly sure what to think about their pairing. I feel like there might be an Ayton move coming up, but they do need some size, right? They do need a big man there. And what's sort of interesting about this, do they need like a true point guard? Someone who can help get these guys the ball in their spots? Do you want Booker to always have the ball? Or do you want to take some of that off of him?
So you brought up two good things. Number one, the Booker thing. Is he going to be physically fit enough to do everything that's required? I know we rat on Harden, but they're going to need a James Harden type thing from him. Yep. Scoring, distributing. And Harden, you can say what he wants. I saw Harden during his run in Houston. Dude had the quickest first step I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Quickest first step. I don't know if Booker can do that.
Sustain that.
For the whole season and then lean in the playoffs. I don't know that.
Yeah.
You brought up Ayton. Put on my GM hat again. Okay. This is what I'm throwing together. Okay. I think they need to move Ayton to get more pieces because obviously
they need more depth.
JJ Redick put out a good video. He goes, the minimum vet used to be $2 million. And then the trade exception was like $5 million or whatever. So it's only $3 million difference. Now with the new CBA, that's jumped up to $12 million. So that's a $10 million difference. So that's why it's going to be hard, he said, to get these vets to take like the veteran minimum because there's like so much money difference between that and the mid-level now. Now they need that.
What we saw last year. What was the big man that in the playoffs was even more impactful for them than Ayton?
I have
your boy, right? I was gonna say,
because here's my thing: you take Ayton, you trade Ayton. Are you ready to this? To the Charlotte Hornets. Hornets send back Terry Rozier.
Oh, I like this already.
Cody Martin, and their big man Mark Williams. So you have the
love Rozier.
You have Williams, you have Rozier, you have Martin. You can start Rozier at point, move Booker over. You got Durant, you got Beal. I don't know, maybe you start Booker, you have Rozier and Martin come off the bench. However they decide to do it.
Because you don't need the big, you don't need to be paying the big that much. You can downgrade at big man, and you can, like you said, get yourself three pieces that can be some of your top 8 rotation players. Versus the one Ayton who wasn't even giving you as much as you need. Like if you're paying him that money, you need him to be producing. And for whatever reason, that wasn't a good fit the last year and a half with him.
And then with the bird rights, you bring back Ross, Bailey, Bizak Biombo, Torrey Craig, and Jack Lindale, the big center, the big center. Now, the important date to remember with these guys is December 16th, because that's the day you can trade these guys. Okay, so those are the day you can trade them. Like, who's a guy like a Gary Trent Jr. He re-signed for what, $12 million. You can package a couple of those guys and a pick, get Gary Trent Jr. to come on. Or I'm just throwing that name out. Whoever, like a Yurcich, like package those guys and some picks to get Yurcich if the Blazers become sellers. I kind of think that's what the Suns need.
I agree completely.
I'm not buying the Suns right now.
Me neither.
I think they're going to be a fade. But if they like make a move
or two,
wings,
completely agree.
They could be a pretty interesting team. Now, my boy Isaiah Thomas, the only person in the history of the NBA to beat Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and Michael Jordan in a playoff series. Only person ever. Chris Paul made a comment. He was traded because of Isaiah. What do you make of that comment?
It seems like Isaiah, we were watching him, he was really warming up to the Suns owner. Remember when they had that incident with Jokic taking the ball from him and Isaiah was down there in the corner sort of standing up for him? Isaiah has not been the greatest of executives. You pointed out his accolades on the court, which you cannot take away from him. But yeah, as far as decision-making, he hasn't been good. But I will say, I think that was the right move. I think a lot of things he's done before haven't worked out. And even if for some reason Chris Paul goes to the Warriors and wins or whatever, they needed to get more from Chris Paul. And they were able to turn Chris Paul back into Beal, whatever you say about Beal. That's still better than where they were, 3 weeks ago. So I unfortunately think it was the right move. And I don't know what to think about CP3 on the Warriors.
I have a couple thoughts about that, but we're going to get to that a little bit later because we're going to shift to the Wizards and everything they started doing. But there's an interesting one brought up by Bobby, and I'm bringing up NBA Trade Machine. Maybe we can come up with something on the fly here. Dame to the Magic.
Okay, so who's coming back?
Let's bring this up here. Magic are an interesting team. All right, so we're going to bring this up. Let's go Magic. And let's go to the Blazers. All right, so we're going to trade Dame. We got to come up with $45.6 million. So obviously, right off the bat, I think we got to trade Jonathan Isaac. You get someone that's been hurt a lot, someone that's got
upside.
A real big upside.
Yeah.
They're going to try to keep Wendell.
I would want Bull for sure if I was Portland. I would want him, I'd want him in there as like a nice prospect with some upside too. So you got the two bigs coming in and then you need guards. I bet you they'd throw in someone like Cole Anthony, but the money still isn't quite matching. Would you throw in something like Fultz too?
You throw Cole Anthony, throw in Fultz. How much money is that? So that would work. Obviously there'd have to be like some sort of, they'd probably throw in some picks too, but if you threw in Marco Fultz, Cole Anthony, Bull, Jonathan Isaac, pick swaps, maybe even a Gary Harris.
Yeah, you can even go like Wagner and Suggs. You know what I mean? Like if you wanted one of those two guys, like if I were Orlando, the only one I probably wouldn't get rid of was Paolo.
And I mean, the one thing about the Magic have 22 draft picks.
So they don't
a ton of draft picks.
They don't need them all. They're not going to be able to.
They could fit in some draft picks, fit in some pick swaps. Bobby, that's a nice little find.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad.
The thing about Orlando, no taxes. So Dame will be able to make a little
more of your money.
A little bit more money. There was a big trade made between the Wizards, Celtics, and Grizzlies.
Your boy, Poole.
Oh God, we'll get to Poole. First thing, let's talk about Porzingis going to the Celtics. Obviously, I think they did it because of what Porzingis can do in the pick and roll. What are your thoughts about Porzingis pick and roll on the half court sets the Celtics are going to be able to do now?
Yeah, it's not a bad fit. The one thing that concerns me a little bit though is the Celtics are still going to need, it's kind of like what we were saying maybe with the Suns. I still think they need another playmaker, like another true point guard. They will have Derek White there, but Marcus Smart left and he was probably one of their better passers there. Someone that we talked about as a guy who took big shots. So I still think they're going to need one more connector, one more like solid backup point guard, like a Tyus Jones type, someone like that to help get the other guys set up. Because like we saw with them, their problem when they get against good teams deep into the playoffs are the ball stops.
Yeah,
the ball doesn't move as much.
I think the big thing for them is, we've talked about the ball sticking in the half court sets. It just became like very evident in the playoffs. Brown and Tatum can't do the pick and roll with each other like Middleton and Giannis can. They just can't do it. So, and now with Porzingis, you got someone that can cut to the middle, get back for a jump shot. So they have someone they can do the pick and roll with in the half court set when stuff kind of fizzled. The one thing about losing Smart now is now it puts more pressure on Tatum. It puts more pressure on Jaylen Brown to be able to do those little things that Smart did. And my one thing about Smart is he never felt scared of the moment.
Nope.
And Jaylen Brown and Tatum in various times have felt scared of the moment. Do you think Porzingis can hang with other big men in the league?
I think he can. Well, I think he can hang with them. The question is, will his body hold up? Like talent-wise, yes. And I think, he is really good when he's on his game and he can stretch you out and then take you down low. Like offensively, he can really, really score well. And I think he's an underrated defensive player also. I'm just a little bit concerned when you buy someone after the good year. They're paying for him now after he had like his healthiest year in a while. Is it likely that he's going to have another year super healthy again, just like that? Or is it one of those things where you would have liked to get him 2 years ago when he was on the cheap, right? For like a hope to bounce back. Now you wonder. I don't know, because Al Horford's going to be a year older. And now all of a sudden, if you have Porzingis and Robert Williams, like those aren't bigs that you can really trust a whole lot to be there game in, game out. So yeah, I still think I understand why they did it. I still think they're like a move or two away too. They feel like they've got to shuffle some of the pieces around a little bit.
I just don't know, man. The comment you made about playing the premium, but they did get some draft picks back.
Yeah, I was going to say the deal worked out well for them overall. It was a good deal for Boston, but you are paying for Porzingis after he had that, after he had that great year.
What does this mean for Robert Williams? Robert Williams is someone that I always felt should be doing more, and against the Heat, he really wasn't that playable. They really weren't giving him much run. What's your thought about Robert Williams and everything?
Unfortunately, he's just really hard to trust at this point. I don't know if he can be your starting center or someone who you really are counting on, because this has been now 3 years in a row where we're going at least the last two deep into the playoffs where he's playing one game, he's not the next game. Even throughout the playoffs, we don't really know his status. So I have no issues with his talent. I think he's very good. And when he's on the court, he's impactful. He shoots an incredible clip. Like he doesn't take any bad shots. He's like automatic right around the rim. And he gives them a different look, like a different threat that they don't have from anyone else, right? They don't have another big that's like springy like him when he's out there, but physically he's so hard to count. He's so tough to count on. So yeah, for me, he's just kind of like a big man off the bench right now at most.
Looks like we got a woo counter in the chat room. Woo,
okay.
Up to 3, make it 4. So now here's one more question about the Celtics. To close out playoff games, what do you think is their lineup?
Porzingis, Tatum, Brown, White.
Brogdon doesn't get traded.
Yeah. And Horford, I don't know if they have two bigs out there like that or if they want Porzingis. Brogdon would be the other one, yeah. And, because think about who else is – that's the thing too. With Smart gone, after Brogdon, their depth isn't quite as much as it felt like it was before either, right? So they may need one or two of these younger guys to step up and become rotation players. They've had so many like late first round draft picks or middle first round draft picks that just have not even gotten in the rotation for them recently. So they're going to need a little bit more there. Like a guy like Grant Williams, you wonder if he stays or does he go, right? Because he's a free agent. Me too.
When I hear Grant is going to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's White, Tatum, Porzingis, and Brogdon. Now, here's a thought that just came to me. Hypothetically, let's say this works out. What does this say about Luka?
Well, I would say that it might say a little bit more about the team overall, because I still do think Boston has a little bit more depth than what we see with Dallas. But we're probably about 2 years away from Luka not getting to the finals before that pressure starts to get put on him, right? Because I think he's still young enough. People still are excited about him, but he's going to start to get the well, Luka, is he not in good enough shape? Is he not taking enough care of his body? Does he wear down at the end of the playoffs? Is it too much for him? So I think that conversation will start to be had in about 2 years. That's probably the timeline for Luka. But I wouldn't take too much out of it on just Luka, but that doesn't mean the rest of the media may not, right? They may start to spin it on him.
Now, what do you think getting Smart does for the Grizzlies?
Oh, I think he's a great fit for them. I really do, because he's tough, and he's someone who he's sort of been in a lot of playoff games, a ton of playoff games. I think he really fits well with Ja, with Bane, with sort of that grit and grind Memphis style. And I like Marcus Smart as a player overall. Honestly, I think he's going to help be a pretty good leader for them. He's going to bring them some added toughness. I think it's an excellent fit for them. And with Ja missing 25 games to start?
25 to start, yeah.
So you feel like you're in a pretty good spot with Smart filling in the void for him to start the year.
Now, I think he's someone that can get through to Morant, which I think that's what they're looking for.
I agree.
Obviously his defensive ability is just absolutely insane. They had him on Embiid.
Yeah.
They literally had him on Embiid.
Had him guarding Embiid.
I really think the Celtics are going to miss him. The toughness he brings. He can play a little point with Bane in there. But I really do feel losing Jones, who's the best backup point guard in the league, is really going to hurt the Grizzlies. How do you feel about the Grizzlies losing Tyus Jones?
Yeah, Jones is solid. We've talked about him many times. I think the key is, right, the first 25 games without Jones, that will hurt. They'll have to have the ball in Bane's hand a little bit more. But I do think when they return, they'll probably be in a situation where when Ja exits, they can have Smart run some of the point there. And then those two guys can also play together. Because like you said, Smart can still spot up and hit some threes. And he can also play fantastic defense and defend up, right? So he can guard wings and guard bigger for you. So yeah, I think it may hurt them to start, because it would have been nice to have the guy like Tyus who knows the Memphis system already when Ja's not around to step right in. He's been so good when Ja's been hurt over the last couple of years or when Ja's missed games. So there may be a little transition at the beginning with Smart coming in, but I think overall at the end of the year, they may even be a little bit better with the combination of Smart and Ja. It might give them a few more options, maybe a little more versatility than the Ja and Jones combo.
And plus, closing for the Grizzlies, we're going to say Jaren Jackson, Bane,
Ja.
Smart, Ja, and maybe Kennard, kind of depends on what they need.
Who you're playing, right?
But the main thing is with Brooks, the ball would stick. At least now with Bane, Smart, and Morant, you have three guys. You can run a pick and roll with Jackson, can create off the dribble and get someone else involved. Make it 6 through 3.
Oh, woo.
I'm telling you, man. For those that don't know, Gino and I are going to be doing a Friday show for the DRF Sportsbook. There's going to be a lot of Brian Wu love in that because that dude has made me a lot of money. And the funny thing is, he's still insanely under the radar. Like, no one really knows anything about this kid because he's in Seattle.
Not like a national. Yeah, he's not like a national radar guy.
The Wizards weren't done. You mentioned they traded Chris Paul to the Warriors for Jordan Poole. And I'm going to call a spade a spade. That was a salary dump by the Warriors for Jordan Poole. But the $1 million question, is Chris Paul going to be okay coming off the bench?
Man, I feel like they probably had lots of conversations with him talking about how he's not going to play a lot during the regular season, or maybe be someone who plays, not back-to-backs. They sort of take it really slow with him and make sure that they have him for the playoffs. But I don't know. I mean, Curry is fine off the ball, but it feels like a really weird fit to me, because then all of a sudden you bring Chris Paul in with Curry and then Clay. Are you fantastic defensively now? Like with those three, that's not that much size there from Chris Paul and Curry and Clay. I don't know if it's going to fit well. These are Hall of Famers, and Chris Paul is a really smart player. It just seems strange. Now, he probably is like addition by subtraction in like what you were saying. They don't have to play Poole now as much. And Poole was one of their real weak links in the playoffs and in series where they could attack them. And this will actually be really good for Poole, because he gets to go and play in Washington where they don't care. They're not going to care about winning at all. I would draft Poole in any season-long fantasy leagues that I was in. He's going to light it up. He's going to average like 25 points a game, and it's going to be like monster numbers and terrible efficiency.
He's going to win someone $1 million that opening night, because he's on DraftKings or FanDuel, whatever you play, just because he's going to be jacking so many shots. My one thing is, Dunleavy, who took over for Bob Myers, said that Poole is going to be here for many, many, many years. 2 days later, he traded him.
Gonzo.
Now he brings in Paul, and he's hyping up Paul. I know everyone's like, well, it's Chris Paul. It's Chris Paul. His contract has 1 year left. Could it be a situation, and I have no idea what team off the top of my head, could it be a situation where they're like, hey, you know what? We could trade Chris Paul. We could
expiring.
He's an expiring contract, maybe pick up a couple assets. That's something I could think about. But on the flip side, one of the biggest knocks on the Warriors last year was their struggles in the half-court set. You bring Chris Paul in, I really feel that's going to improve their efficiency in the half-court set. They do elect to keep him. You mentioned Poole. How many points do you think he's going to average next year? If you had to guess?
I'm saying over 25.
Oh, what if they don't bring back Kuzma?
I know. That's 28. You know what I mean? Seriously, because I don't think they should bring back Kuzma if I was Washington, because Kuzma's not on your timeline anymore. Right? You need someone like a Poole to at least take the shots, right? To eat some innings. But Kuzma is a winning player now. He could go to another team and be very helpful on like a championship type team.
I think Poole's getting what he wants. Everything's going to run through him. He's going to be the dude. Everything's going to run through him. He's going to be jacking up shots. He's going to be the center of the spotlight. I think he's going to average 30 shots a game and get 26 points. Just be ultra inefficient. And he's never going to be relevant again in the NBA in terms of winning playoff games.
Completely agree.
I just feel, you know what? He was in a great situation and it's lost. If the Warriors do re-sign Green in the playoffs, who do you think closes the game for him?
Steph, Clay, Draymond, Wiggins. And then, like we were saying, I guess it just comes down to matchup, right? Like who you're playing. You're playing the bigger team, and it's probably, it's probably a Looney. If it's someone bigger, you're playing the smaller team. Maybe it is CP3. DiVincenzo may be going somewhere else, right? Because I don't think they're going to be able to pay him out. So because they're going to be in a little bit of trouble as far as money is concerned, right? Like they don't have a whole lot of flexibility and a lot of wiggle room. So I do think, those four, Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Dre, if he's back, and then Like, what's it going to look like if Chris Paul is on the bench, not closing games?
I mean,
Right?
I think
Is he going to be upset about that? Is that something he's going to be?
sure.
Right?
For sure. I mean, I look at it like this. It's going to be Paul, Curry, Clay, and Wiggins. And then the last one is either going to be Green or Looney. It's going to be one of the two. Our friend Dan, really happy that the boys are joining on the pool train. Been on it for years.
Oh, yeah.
I have never been on the pool train. I've been saying it for multiple years now that he is not the dude. He is not the answer.
We're drowning. We are drowning in the pool. That's
drowning in the pool.
Yep.
Middleton opted out with my Milwaukee Bucks. Thoughts on that? I mean, the rumor that I'm hearing is that he did that because the Bucks are going to cycle back with a little bit longer of a contract he could get, and he'll be able to make a little bit more money. I think he re-signs back up. And if I'm the Bucks, I'm looking at it like this. I can bring back him. I bring back Lopez, get Giannis to restructure, I would run it back because when I look at the structure at the East, it's like, you know what? Nothing really
scares you. Nobody scares you. Nobody terrifies you. It's funny. As time has gone on, the loss to Miami looks a little bit better too, right?
Yeah.
Losing to Miami, who then went on and won 2 more series and had a really good run in the playoffs. And you just, like you said, you look at the lay of the land there. Okay, Middleton never really got back to himself last year. Right. Yeah. He had some stretches, but he just didn't seem like he was fully back in shape. Now he'll be in better shape this year. Your team doesn't have as many miles on them. You didn't go as deep into the playoffs, right, last year. So you'll be a little hungrier. You'll be a little fresher. I mean, if I'm stacking up teams, and it's sort of a little teaser for what we're going to talk about at the end, but one of my bets is Milwaukee to win the East at plus 240.
Okay. And then another trade happened, and this one blows me away because I'm a huge John Collins guy. Rudy Gay and a 2nd-round pick.
Just like a straight up nothing.
I mean, honestly, as a Bucks and as a Pistons fan, I'm thinking
you would have taken Collins for that. You could have given us something more than that for Collins, right?
I'm like, hello?
I know. And the weird thing is, him going to Utah doesn't feel like it's the most fantastic fit either, right? Because they did okay playing the 3 bigs last year because they would play Kessler, Markkanen, and Vanderbilt a little bit, who are sort of like the same template for these guys. But and Collins is more offensive for sure. But I don't know. You feel like those 3 guys are probably 3 of their guys that they want to play the most minutes this year, right? Markkanen, Kessler, and Collins. Is that going to be a great fit with those 3 bigs out there?
No, not
and then
at all.
Defensively, right? If other teams go small, what are you going to do?
I'll be honest. I really think that the Jazz are going to flip John Collins.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to keep him. It might be just to flip back because the puzzle pieces don't seem to fit well with him there either.
Now, real quick, I need to bring this up. I don't know if you saw this. And oh my God, of course I could not find it. Did you see that picture of Markkanen in the Finnish army?
I think I did. Yes, I think I did. Let me see if I can find it.
So I'm pulling it up right now. For those watching, here we go. Boom. Is he there with a PR person that says, "Hey, I'm going to arch down here. Get this shot of me"?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. For sure. This is they set it up, right? They've got a ring light right behind him to get even better lighting. And how many times do you think they recorded that?
Oh my God, there's at least
12
10 takes.
I was going to say, yeah, there's 12 takes in there.
And it was kind of funny. My buddy sent me a DM and he goes, "At least now we know why they traded for John Collins."
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought that was
funny.
Kind of funny.
Funny.
Now we're here. Oh, NBA draft winners and losers. I have my biggest winner, and I have a loser. Who is your who won the draft in your eyes? Who is the biggest winner?
The two teams I thought actually, and they may trade with each other. What's funny, the two that stood out to me were Brooklyn and Portland. So I like what Brooklyn did with the 21st and the 22nd pick. They got Clowney from Alabama, 6'10". He's got really like good upside. He's probably not ready to rock right now. Whitehead is another guy who he hurt his foot early in the season, and so he probably wasn't as good as he can be. And then Jalen Wilson from Kansas, I thought for Brooklyn, they had a really good draft. And then for Portland, we talked about the possibility of them even trading with each other. I thought Portland's three that they got, Scoot Henderson, as like you said, many years, this guy goes number 1 overall. Murray, who they get at the end of the first round. He's a forward who has some size and who can play a little defense and shoot the three. And then they take a big swing on a French wing named Rupert in the end of the second round. So I thought those two teams were two that really stood out to me as having solid drafts.
The team that stood out to me was the Dallas Mavericks. They added Lively from Duke. For me, he's a big who can hit a jumper. He can hit a 3-point jumper, so he can take opposing bigs away from the rim, and he can also defend a wing, which is huge if you're a center in the modern NBA. Plus, they added Olivia Muncie Prosper from Marquette, who has the making of a Dorian Smith athletic wing who can make a jump shot, which they obviously were missing last year after they traded him in the Kyrie trade. And then with the trade exemption they got after they moved down in the draft, they were able to get Holmes from the Kings, who's a big. And what was the Mavericks' biggest issue last year? Rebounding and interior defense. That is his strength. He ran out of the rotation at Sacramento. He's going to be in. He's going to be playing minutes off the bench. Great pickup for him. And they needed to create cap space. What did they did? They traded your favorite 3-point shooter, Bertans, to OKC. So look, they got a contract off the books. They got a young guy in the interior that can play center, play on the outside, defend, make a jump shot. And they got a veteran big who can rebound and help their defense. I mean, dude, that's a pretty solid thing, all just by one simple trade, moving from 10 all the way down to 12. So I kind of liked what the Mavericks did right there.
Yep.
Biggest loser. What move? Who are like, damn, this sucks.
Well, this one's a little tough because they did draft 4 players, and there are 2 that I think have really that are intriguing prospects. But man, like if those 2 guys don't hit, this could be a bad draft. I'm going to go with the Hornets, who went with Miller instead of Scoot, who I would have taken Scoot at that spot absolutely over Miller myself. And then at the end of the first round, they got a guy from Arkansas named Nick Smith Jr., who may have been like a lottery pick last year and was supposed to be really highly projected, but he was really inconsistent throughout the year. He's one of those guys I could really see going either way. Like if they feel like they made the wrong move and Scoot ends up much better than Miller, and then they don't hit with this one. And then Bailey is another one at the end of the second round who could be excellent from UCLA. He's like a really nice prospect, but to me, for them, there's a lot of like high ceiling, low floor. I could see it being one extreme or the other. And I understand why they do it because they're a young team that's not close to winning right now, right? Like Charlotte's not trying to win right now. They're going to take some shots on some projects, but if the coins flip the wrong way on these guys, they could have had a really bad draft when they could have maybe played it safe with a guy like Scoot.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. Like you and I we didn't share what ours was going to be, and I had the Hornets as my biggest loser. And my big thing is just because you don't, at the end of the day, NBA is different than NFL. You want to take the best player available. You don't want to take biggest fit. And it just kind of blows my mind if Scoot Henderson is what everyone says he's going to be, that you took Brandon Miller instead of that. And I'm not saying like, who knows, like if Brandon Miller is like a 4-time All-Star, a good 3-point shooter, but you got Scoot Henderson who leads Portland to an NBA championship, wins multiple MVPs.
Yep.
You're going to be looking back being, God damn it, dude. You know what I mean?
Even weird, like, I know, like, if you're close to deciding between 2 guys too, weird things just like the incident that happened with Miller earlier this year too, right? Like a maturity thing, you know, like if you're making a decision and you like two different players and you're just picking straws, right? Like what are the small reasons why I'm going to pick this guy instead of that guy? Well, for me, that would have been a knock against Miller. What happened in that situation? Why is he around people like that? Is it going to be worse like what we've seen with guys like John Morant right now, right? Is it worse once you get money, once you get more freedom, people aren't breathing down your neck anymore. You can go and do whatever you want and you got a full bank account, right? I don't know. Do you want him to be the guy to lead your franchise or a cornerstone of the franchise? So yeah, to me, that was the team that I think I thought.
Who knows? This could be the big circle. Because I always figure, like, we have to remember way back when the Blazers didn't draft Michael Jordan because of Clyde Drexler. His stuff come all the way back around where Michael Jordan, who was still calling the shots.
Oh, I love this. I love this. He wanted Miller.
Draft Scoot Henderson. He drafted Brandon Miller. And now Scoot Henderson makes the Blazers a perennial team. I mean, that'd be kind of funny if that happened.
I don't know if you saw Mitch Kupchak when they asked him after the draft. He like didn't even know what to say. It was so funny. He was talking about Brandon Miller and he said something like, yeah, he's younger, so he's like a little immature or like you could just tell Mitch did not want this guy at all. Like you could sense it.
I'm going to say this. Like I know like on Twitter and everything, I'm not the biggest Malika Andrews fan. Like I didn't like the question she asked to Giannis right after they lost and about him leaving and everything. I didn't like that. I'm not the biggest fan of hers, but she is getting criticized a lot for her question to Brandon Miller. That's called doing her job.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like
more people should be doing that.
I feel that was the right question to ask in that situation. And with how the NBA, ABC, ESPN presented that was the only tough question that was asked. That was like such a fluffy production
interview. I know
everything. So I think that was fine. Now we're going to switch over to everyone's favorite part. This is the betting section. And I have 3 juicy ones, man. Beautiful. I went deep. And I know you're going to hate my first one, but I'll let you kick off, dude. What is your first bet you're looking at, my friend?
Okay, I mentioned a little bit earlier, I'm going to go Milwaukee to win the East. Just like we said, I'm just sort of looking at the lay of the land, and I just feel the most confident about Milwaukee compared to everybody else. I just really don't. This year, we all thought the East was a little bit better than it was, I think, throughout the season. And because the West was so competitive, and from top to bottom, there wasn't a lot separating the West. But on the East, we even right now, Boston, I'm not sure if Boston's going to fit and look great putting it all together. We don't know what Harden's deal is, if he's going to leave or if he's going to stay. And, again, look around. Do you trust Miami each and every year? I don't know. Like, they don't scare me. So I get back down to Milwaukee every time I try to do this. And Milwaukee to win the East, they are your second choice. You can get them around plus 250 or so.
Now, the last team, first of all, I love that, dude. I think the Bucks are insanely undervalued. For my future, I'm looking at it like this. So let's look. The last team that won a title that didn't have a player on the team that won the MVP or finished second in MVP voting was the Pistons in 2004. Okay, so with that being said, that's going to cut all the teams down.
Sure.
The team, my list of teams that fit in this criteria: Nuggets, Bucks, Suns, Warriors, your Lakers, 76ers, and the Clippers, because Kawhi finished second one year.
Yep.
Now I'm looking at these teams. I think the team, to me, that has the most value is the Los Angeles Clippers at 18-1.
The Clippers, you know what? I don't mind from a pure value-based standpoint. I actually don't think that's bad. And what's funny is and that'll kind of lead to my other one. And I know I'm a homer, obviously, but when we're looking at that, to me, after the Clippers, the other one would be the Lakers. Yeah. Like, of the teams that you're looking at, as far as I caught the Lakers on one at plus 850 to win the West.
That's talking about. I like that one,
dude. We're talking about a team who was clearly the second best team in the West last year, the Lakers, and they just had gotten a lot of their new pieces together. They have the opportunity, whether they signed D'Angelo or not. They extended the qualifying offers today to Rui and to Reeves. I think both of those guys will come back. And then you look around the rest of the West. Denver, I think, is better than the Lakers. But Denver is one injury or one weird matchup or one being a little tired because, they've had to play a little deeper into the year. And I truly think of the rest of the West teams, the Lakers are right there with them. So if you're looking for a straight value based, I thought both of the LA teams, they were the two that I wrote down, the Clippers and the Lakers. If you're looking to play a future, those would be the two that I would play to win the West. Lakers would be, I got 850 at a couple different places.
Yeah, I got the Clippers, but I did 18-1 to win it all. Leonard and Paul never really played together. Always one of them's been banged up. Also, the rumor that I'm hearing that's really starting to get legs is Fred VanVleet.
Yes, I like that.
Clippers. Leonard's been adamant that he wants an upgrade at the point guard position. Him and Fred are actually pretty good friends. So I could see that working out. You have those three. You have
they have some great contracts. The Clippers
team. I really think this team at 18-1, a good value. If Fred does go there, that line's going to drop. So for those watching now, I would definitely lock that one in.
Yeah, they got pieces. They can make moves, trades very easily because they have a lot of solid contracts, guys that are making 14, 15 million. You package a couple of them. So they're a move or two away, too. It's tough to trust them, like always, with the Kawhi and Paul George health. But this year feels different because, last year, they were one of the favorites, right? And now, based on value, okay, do I want to play them at 5-1? No. But do I want to play them at 18-1? Absolutely.
Now, next bet. I got a juicy one. What's your next bet, my friend?
Okay, I'm going to go Rookie of the Year. Chet Holmgren, plus 650. I think Holmgren's going to be in a really good spot because he's going to be on a good team. Now, all of the reports I've been reading is that Holmgren has been incredible and will probably be playing in the summer league. And if you think about it now, they're going to have Shea, who takes a lot of pressure off of him. What was the one thing that team was missing last year? Size. They couldn't rebound, and that's where they got beat when they played teams that had more size. They didn't have any bigs at all. Holmgren, by accident, should get 8 to 10 rebounds a game. He should get a few assists a game. He could be a double-double guy, right off the bat, and be a guy that gets a lot of those counting stats, like a mini Jokic, just based on the personnel around them. Big Vic is good. I don't know why I don't feel like he may be instantly as good as we're all just expecting. So I would be just a little anti Wembanyama if I was trying to play the Rookie of the Year. I would look for someone else. I thought Holmgren at plus 650. Lots of rebounds, lots of assists. He's going to fill right in and give them good size. I thought he was a good play.
That's funny. That was my last one, and I have one. I have one. I'll replace it just to add for you. This people need to remember he was Wembanyama last year.
Yeah,
he was this guy who was over 7 feet tall, could defend the rim and shoot. And to remember with him, Scoot has Dame. So I mean, if those guys are going to be fighting. And my thing with Victor is you need to play 65 games. Is he going to play 65?
And if they're not that good, right, towards the end of the year?
Is he going to play 65? I don't think so.
And we don't feel that way about Chet anymore because Oklahoma City, I don't think they're in that
no.
Right? Last year, they took the step forward now. So you can't go backwards now and start and have another year where you're tanking. Now you're trying to take the leap forward now into the playoffs to win a playoff series. So just what you said, down the stretch, is Chet going to be playing games because they're meaningful games and Victor not going to be playing games because they're trying to, they're out of it and they're not really worried about winning.
Yep. I like that one a lot. I've already locked that one in. My next one is I'm staying with the Thunder, but I'm going Gildress Alexander to win the MVP at 29.
I like this.
Now, this is my thought process here. we saw the Grizzlies take that big jump from in the play-in game to number 1 seed. I think we could see this with the OKC. I don't think they're going to be the number 1 seed, but I do think where they're going to see that big jump to one of the better teams in the NBA. And then let's just kind of look at the other favorites. Joker is going to play FIBA this year, first Serbia. He plays that. I'm hearing he's going to miss the start of the season. He's going to miss training camp. So it's going to take him a little while to get going. He may not even make the 65-game requirement. The next favorite is Giannis. I really think the Bucks are going to look back and look at what Miami did, and they're not going to run Giannis into the ground. I doubt he's going to play 65 games.
And you get the voter fatigue a little bit with both Jokic and with Giannis too, right? Guys who that have been voted for a lot recently. They're trying to look for someone else a lot of the time. They're trying to look for someone new.
Luka, I mean, it looks like Irving is re-signing back there. They're going to be competing for the ball. I don't see him putting up big numbers. Embiid, I feel with how bad Embiid looked in the playoffs, even if he has,
that's going to carry over for him because some of this playoff stuff carries over, right?
Exactly, because it's going to carry over. He's not going to get the votes. Tatum, again, I think like the thing with Tatum is it's going to be the same thing. You're going to look at how last season ended, and there's going to kind of be a tarnished rep on him. So I don't really like him. And plus, again, 65 games. I think we're going to see a lot of the stuff change with what the Heat did, and these stars play less and less games. Yeah. That way they try to save them for the playoffs. The next 3 are Curry, KD, and Booker. Same idea. You know what I mean? Like, I think they're just going to save them for the playoffs. And then you get Gilgeous-Alexander. I think at 29-1, he's insanely undervalued. So I'm going to take him at 29-1. Gino, what is your last bet, my friend?
Last play for me. This is another sort of homer play, but I don't think it's that homer. We're just talking about things that carry over from the playoffs a lot of the time. You know, Anthony Davis has never won a Defensive Player of the Year award. He's plus 1,000. Yeah, to win a defensive. He's plus 1,000. I think he's like the third choice. And if you watch the playoffs, he just looked like the best defensive player in the league by far. I think the reputation started to come back a little bit more for him after what he did to Memphis, what he did to Golden State in those series, making those teams completely alter the way they played to try to change attacking him. And I think the key for him is 60 games, like we're talking about, right? Can he play that 60, 65 games? We look at AD coming off of last year. He played 56 games, and down the stretch, he played every playoff game. And after LeBron got hurt, he carried the load for them. And he looked like a guy who could be your number 1 guy if you had other like 1A sort of, you know, other guards that could be perimeter guys that were also able to be helpful. But I think it was a good year. There's also for AD, I think mentally he was able to get over some of those hurdles, like playing a lot of games again in a row, probably where he had lots of like little bruises and little bumps. And we've heard some rumors recently about LeBron's frustration, not personally with Anthony Davis, just overall with the fact that, damn, if we can both stay healthy and be on the court at the same time, we're still really good. You know, like they showed last year when LeBron and AD can both be out there, they're still one of the top 5 teams in the league. I really believe that, and they proved that. So I think Anthony Davis plus 1,000 Defensive Player of the Year.
Now, I'm just throwing this out there. You're a Laker guy, just throwing it out there in the air. LeBron did tear down his house in LA, and he owns a house in Ohio.
I could see that being next year. That would be the next year thing with Bronny, right?
His security team, the report is there was his security team were at his house in Ohio making upgrades. That's the rumor going around the block. I
think I could see that being the next year thing with Bronny. Because and trying to get a way to get him there if Bronny comes too. I do think he, just from looking at it in I'm a Lakers fan, obviously. I think LeBron would probably still look at the Lakers this year and think that's his best chance to win than probably almost anywhere else.
I don't think he's going to go. I think you're right. I think next year, if he moves, is going to be the year, just because you have to think of it like this. He has all those business interests out there.
Yeah.
Plus Bonnie just
started at USC. And LeBron's going to have surgery right now too, right?
Yeah.
So he might be a little behind to start.
Why would you want to leave?
Yeah. It's the timing for him isn't as good to leave right now as it would next year.
And Cleveland's interesting. And the reason why
they are
interesting is because Mitchell has this year coming. I think he has 3 years left. Okay. And he wants to be in New York. He really wants to be in New York. So after next year, I really feel that they're going to have to move Mitchell because they can't lose him in free agency. So it's a real interesting year for Cleveland. Look, so my things are that I'm going to give out. I have 2 of them. I think the Magic are going to make the playoffs next year. There's no price on them. I think they're going to be a team that gets in. So I'd look to bet the Magic to make the playoffs. And my other one is I'm going to bet the under on the Nuggets win total.
Sure.
Win totals aren't yet. You know, Murray is playing in FIBA for Canada. Joker's playing for Serbia.
They may lose Brown.
They could lose Brown. A lot of long legs. And again, like, I really feel like we're going to see a transformation in the NBA right now with how much people play in the regular season.
They don't care. What is the first couple months of the year for the Nuggets to get next year? They don't care anymore. They just want to be healthy to get into the playoffs with everybody.
I mean, I really think the only people it really matters to are those guys that are going in and can get that boost in money if they make an all-NBA team. So I really think we're going to see those guys. So maybe figure out who that is and look to bet some of their like season-long props, because those are the guys that are going to be going at it. Gino, wow. We haven't talked in a while, and we just talked an hour.
Through an hour like it was nothing.
NBA, and it flew like that. Why don't you tell everyone what you have scheduled for your podcast that comes out on Friday and where they can find you on social media, my friend?
Yeah, give me a follow. It's me, Gino B, on Twitter. Subscribe to the podcast. That's What G Said podcast. This week we'll have some horse racing. It's a big weekend at Churchill races at Ellis Park, and also at Woodbine. They have a bunch of good races up there. I'll have Louisiana Down stuff this weekend. We'll talk some more NBA, see if anything happens over the next couple days. And then starting next week, you and I are going to have a new show on Fridays, and we're also going to start previewing NFL divisions on my show. So we'll start talking some NFL and some football very, very soon.
You know, good stuff, man. I look forward to talking to you on the DRF Sports Show
next week.
I think it's called Winning Bets.
Winning Ticket. Yeah, something like that.
Winning Ticket. We'll talk soon, guys. Next week, probably a week off because of the 4th of July. If there is a show, it will be taped and short and sweet. And after that, we'll be starting our NFL stuff. So make sure to be on the lookout for that. Until next week, boys and girls.